Terence Crawford didn't hesitate when explaining why he believed Shakur Stevenson would beat Gervonta Davis, and his reasoning goes deeper than power or popularity. While fans often focus on Tank's explosive knockouts, Crawford points to something subtler: control of distance, defensive awareness, and composure under fire. According to him, Stevenson's ability to dictate pace and limit exchanges could neutralize Davis's biggest weapon: timing. The contrast is fascinating. Calculated precision versus sudden destruction. Crawford's insight reframes the matchup as a chess match rather than a firefight. If he's right, the fight wouldn't be about who hits harder, but who thinks sharper when it matters most. What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a huge story coming out of the boxing world. And trust me, this one is going to get people talking. Terence "Bud" Crawford has spoken. And when Bud talks about boxing, the entire sport listens. The pound-for-pound king has broken down why he believes Shakur Stevenson would defeat Gervonta "Tank" Davis. And his explanation is as technical as it is eye-opening. Now, before we dive deep into Crawford's breakdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest boxing news, breakdowns, and exclusive insights. Let's get into it. So here's the situation. For years, fans have debated who would win between Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis. It's one of the biggest potential matchups in boxing. You've got Tank, explosive, dangerous, a proven knockout artist with devastating power. And then you've got Shakur, slick, defensive genius, master technician, and one of the most disciplined fighters in the sport. Terence Crawford was recently asked about this dream matchup, and instead of giving a safe, political answer, he broke it down from a pure boxing IQ perspective. And what he said might surprise some of you. Crawford explained that Shakur Stevenson's style is the kind that frustrates punchers like Tank Davis. He emphasized that boxing isn't just about power. It's about control, timing, distance, and ring IQ. According to Bud, Shakur's ability to control distance would be the key factor in the fight. Think about that for a second. Tank Davis thrives when he can close the gap, set traps, and explode with those vicious counter shots. He's patient, yes, but once he finds his timing, it's lights out. We've seen it over and over again. One mistake, one lapse in focus, and Tank detonates that left hand. But Crawford believes Shakur doesn't make those kinds of mistakes. He pointed out that Stevenson has some of the best footwork in boxing today. Not flashy footwork, efficient footwork. The kind that keeps him just outside of danger while still being in position to score. Crawford said that Shakur doesn't overcommit, doesn't reach, and doesn't give opponents the openings they need to land something big. And that's critical against someone like Tank. Bud went even deeper, saying that Shakur's defensive awareness is on another level. It's not just about slipping punches. It's about anticipation. It's about knowing what your opponent wants to do before they do it. According to Crawford, Shakur reads fighters like a book. And if you can read Tank's setups before he pulls the trigger, that's half the battle right there. Now let's talk about defense versus power, because that's what this matchup really comes down to. Tank has eraser power. He can lose rounds and still win the fight with one shot. We've seen him do it against elite competition. He doesn't need to dominate every second of the fight. He just needs one opening. But Crawford believes Shakur's discipline would prevent that opening from ever appearing. He explained that Shakur doesn't get reckless when he's ahead. Some fighters build a lead and then get comfortable. They start exchanging more. They take unnecessary risks. Crawford says Shakur stays locked in from round 1 to round 12. And that's something Bud respects deeply, because he fights the same way. Crawford also mentioned something that doesn't get talked about enough: Shakur's punch placement. He may not be known as a knockout artist like Tank, but he places his shots perfectly. He touches you, moves, resets, and touches you again. Over time, that adds up. It breaks rhythm. It builds frustration. And frustration is dangerous for a puncher. When a power fighter gets frustrated, they start reaching. They start loading up. They abandon the jab. And once that happens, a technician like Shakur takes over completely. Bud even hinted that Tank's aggressive tendencies could work against him in this matchup. If Tank feels like he's behind on the cards, he might press harder. He might try to force the knockout. And forcing the action against someone with Shakur's defensive skill set could lead to him getting counted all night long. Now let's be clear, Crawford did not disrespect Tank. In fact, he praised Davis's power and fight IQ. He acknowledged that Tank is one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. But in Bud's opinion, styles make fights. And stylistically, he sees Stevenson as the more complete boxer. Crawford highlighted Shakur's composure under pressure. He said that Shakur doesn't panic when opponents try to rough him up. He doesn't get drawn into unnecessary exchanges. He sticks to the game plan. That mental discipline is something Crawford values highly. And coming from a fighter widely regarded as one of the smartest in boxing, that praise carries serious weight. Another key point Bud brought up was stamina. He believes Shakur's conditioning would allow him to maintain a high level of movement for all 12 rounds. Tank, on the other hand, tends to fight at a measured pace early, looking for openings. If Shakur banks early rounds and keeps the fight at his tempo, Tank could find himself in a hole. And chasing a defensive mastermind is one of the hardest tasks in boxing. Crawford also talked about angles. He said Shakur doesn't just move backward, he pivots. He creates new angles after every exchange. That constant repositioning makes it extremely difficult for punchers to set their feet. And if Tank can't plant his feet, that explosive power becomes harder to deliver effectively. Let's not forget that Shakur has been criticized for being too defensive or boring at times. But Crawford pushed back on that narrative. He said what some fans call boring is actually high-level boxing. It's mastery of the craft. And when you're facing someone with knockout power, boring might be brilliant. Now imagine this fight playing out. Shakur circling, snapping the jab, touching the body, pivoting out. Tank stalking, feinting, looking for that one clean counter. The tension would be insane. Every second would feel like it could explode. But round after round, if Tank can't land clean, frustration builds. Crawford believes that by the championship rounds, Shakur would be comfortably ahead on the scorecards. And unless Tank lands something dramatic, Stevenson would cruise to a decision victory. That's Bud's take. And when you consider Crawford's own experience dealing with punchers and technicians alike, his opinion holds serious credibility. This isn't fan hype. This is a generational talent analyzing another generational talent. Of course, not everyone agrees. There are plenty of fans who believe Tank's power is the ultimate equalizer. They argue that Shakur hasn't faced someone with Tank's level of explosiveness. They believe all it takes is one perfectly timed left hand. And they're not wrong to think that. Because in boxing, anything can happen. But if we're breaking it down purely from a technical standpoint, footwork, distance control, defensive awareness, punch selection, composure, Crawford sees Shakur Stevenson as having the edge. And that's what makes this potential fight so fascinating. It's the classic boxer versus puncher matchup. Skill versus power. Discipline versus danger. Terence Crawford isn't just picking a winner. He's giving us a blueprint of how he sees the fight unfolding. Now the real question is, will we ever see it? Both fighters have expressed confidence. Both believe they'd win. And the fans are desperate for it.